Welcome back to the Relentless Transitions podcast, everyone. I'm here with my lovely co-host Teresa down there in Georgia. How are you doing, Teresa?
I'm doing pretty good today. It is beautiful, as you can see that in the window there, the sun is coming on in. And so I'm excited about today.
We're having hot Georgia weather up here. It's like 31
Really?
degrees and humid like you wouldn't believe. It's like
Well, now the other day it was cold. Is the weather just fluctuating?
it does. It goes we can vary by about 20 degrees in one day. So so anyway, let's get started on the podcast today. I'm excited by this topic and I think Teresa is as well. We're going to be talking about how to stop feeling overwhelmed by every new opportunity or new thing that comes your way, also known as chasing that bright shiny object.
Yes.
So, this is an exciting one because I think both Teresa and I have fallen for this as we've grown our businesses. It's a tendency to chase some new target or new thing and that actually often takes you off course, right, Teresa?
Yes.
And eh, it's normal. It's normal. Your Facebook feeds are filled with all these opportunities, and you fear that if you don't jump on that opportunity when it's in front of you, or purchase that app when it's available at this price, or purchase that, that you're going to miss out, and your business is going to, fail, or you're going to, not be as happy, right? So it's about fear of missing out and yeah. What else do you think about bright shiny object?
I just think that when you're chasing that bright, shiny object, that new thing, that it just has a tendency to keep you unfocused or make you
Yes.
feel unfocused. And, when you feel unfocused, when you're trying to start a business or even just trying to manage your life no matter
Yeah.
what, whether you're a single person, a married person, married with children, if you are constantly like just looking at that next thing, you're in the middle of one thing, but you're looking at that next thing, then it can make you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. The grass
Yeah,
is always greener on the other side of the fence. I mean,
that's what it seems like until you have to cut that grass over
yeah,
there.
yeah. Just ask my cat. She escaped last night and went straight under the fence between
Oh
between
my
her
goodness.
and ate the grass over there because I don't know, the grass near my our house is just not good enough. I don't know.
It doesn't
Anyway,
taste right. It doesn't taste right.
that's right. So it's about that whole thing about fear of missing out, fear, things always look better uh,
Mhm.
than than you feel like they are right now in your business or in your life. So Teresa, I thought we could talk about some real life examples as well as just some general examples of what people chase to meet their goals, or they think they're going to help them meet their goals. And as you said, they end up unfocused and overwhelmed instead.
Mm.
So, what can you share with us, Teresa, about that?
Well, a couple of things actually come to mind. And, because on this podcast, we like to talk about life, we like to talk about business and also triumph, I will give a personal life example and then I'll give a business example. So, a life example, one that just is sticking out to me right now was when I was preparing to get married. So, when you are looking for that wedding ring. Well, no, my husband looked for the ring, but we had gone out and he had a pretty good idea by the time he purchased it of what I was looking for. But, there's always going to be another beautiful ring, no matter what jewelry store we went to, jewelry store after jewelry store. And I'm telling you, we ended up with something custom because literally, every store that we went to, I was like, oh, this one. Oh, this is the one. Oh, this one is, is the one. So, finally had to just pick one, like say, okay, I like the round stone. That is my stone. So picking it and sticking with it then you can move on to that next great thing that you really needed to focus on.
Yeah.
And then as far as business is concerned, I just think that, as I have grown my business and been looking to scale my business. When you're starting out, you're just looking at so many things and you're trying to establish your foundation. But as just most recently, as I started to look at scaling my business, then looking at business systems, and you're constantly hearing about, well, this one or that one. Well, I don't want to name, their names, but try this one. Oh, this networking group is over here. Oh, this is that. And pretty soon, what you find, if you invest in all these things, you have spent a lot of time. You have spent, gotten yourself obligated into a whole bunch of expenditure, monthly expenditure, if they didn't charge you for an annual plan of something. And then you end up with way more than what you need, or not what you need, at all. So just chasing all of these things. Those would really be like my two examples. What about
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Well, I can think of a few examples. From my personal life, I remember when I was a recent divorcee and I was starting to, do the whole online dating thing. I met one guy, lovely, lovely guy, and but he was definitely a serial dater, and
Mm-hmm.
he just one, as far as I could tell, there was just one woman after another,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean we're friends, but I didn't want part of that scene. But I think he was always afraid that he was settling if he just dated one
Mm-hmm.
woman, and that the next woman might have everything he wanted.
Right.
He was always chasing like perfection. And
Mm-hmm.
so as a result, he never learned to, you know, never learned to really look for the good in what he had, which is
Mm-hmm.
another problem
Mm-hmm.
with bright shiny object syndrome. So there, there was that in my personal life recently that I thought about when you were talking about buying your wedding ring. And for me, as far as the business goes, for me, it's, my Facebook feed is just inundated with coaches wanting to coach me on how to grow my business and the latest best practice and the latest best course I can take and the latest program I can invest in. And honestly, just having those on my Facebook feed caused me to feel like, oh my God, I'm missing out if I don't touch this. I'm missing out if I don't touch that. And what if this one actually will bring me the millions of dollars, that
Yes.
and it's so easy to fall for those things. So it that includes what you were talking about, the latest programs or software or apps and that sort of thing that are out there. I mean, I just think that every day we're faced with these things, no matter whether we're in business or we're in life. I've talked to so many friends who are just always jumping from one diet to the next because, oh, this is the latest, best weight loss thing, and this is and maybe that doesn't cost them a whole lot of money, but it does cost them a whole lot of grief. And so there are things like that. It's not just in business that we chase these things, it's in your life too, right?
Oh,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And it's so easy to I'd say fall prey to it, because really what we're focused on is our end goal. We
Yeah.
want like the best,
Yeah.
for not only for ourselves but for our family. So you can apply it to, maybe a parent who has their children involved in 15 activities. They really can't 100% be effective and present at 15 different activities. My girlfriend shared that with me. That came to mind, with her and her kids. She just wanted, them to have everything. So every single thing that either she thought about or they thought about, then they were involved in it. I mean, tennis, swimming, ballet, piano lessons. And they really were like so exhausted
Well, that's
trying to
right.
go to all these things and be a part of all these different things. And each one of these things had their own community of
Yeah.
people. So they have all this stuff that they had to do. So I mean, even when it is the goal is that we have a very positive goal, but we have to kind of keep those things in check when it comes to hopping from one thing to the next thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what bright shiny object syndrome is. It's just
Hmm.
hopping from one thing to another, and as a result, you don't focus on anything properly, right?
Yeah.
So this uh, there are so many consequences of just chasing the latest, greatest, best thing. And Teresa, you were just touching on exhaustion, but there are so many other ones. What else have you got in mind for consequences that you've come across in your life um, as a result of chasing the latest, greatest thing?
Well, outside of, like I said, if you can start spreading yourself too thin,
Yeah.
you're looking to be a part of like absolutely everything. And even when there are good things, like, you're gonna be on this committee and that committee at church. You're going to be on this committee and that committee at your child's school. Then at home, there are things that you have to take care of and be very present for there. And then add on top of that, if you have a business, then you're trying to do that. So it can cause not only exhaustion, but stress. We really just don't understand how stress impacts us, and it can creep up on us just so easily, before we really identify it or understand what is going on. It can cause us to have anxiety, to have poor sleep. I already mentioned, exhaustion. But another thing is to keep in mind, especially as a business person, is that when you are all over the place, then your customers really can't readily identify what it is that your business is all about. And confused minds do not buy. And so
Very.
when you are in business, you are, I believe that when you're in business to make money or to make a profit. And if people are confused, they don't purchase. They tell you, present people with one thing, don't give them five things, because if you do, then they have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you have too many choices, they just don't get anything. They just browse and peruse. So
Yeah.
that's those are some major consequences.
Yeah, I think all along that line too, is you end up with a lot of unfinished projects,
Definitely.
because you jump into one thing, you get started, and then all of a sudden, that next thing over the fence looks a little bit more enticing, so you quit and you start over again. You end up wasting so much time because in starting over again, you're really starting over again from the bottom. The learning curve is, steep every time you start one of these new projects, chasing that next best thing. Um, and I don't know. I mean, for me, I do feel like when I've done that, I ended up feeling a lot of frustration and I actually lose my motivation to do
Mhm.
anything because
Yeah.
there's so much going on in my head. There's so much, the daunting stuff, starting over. Do I start over? Don't I start over? I end up really, that overwhelm just
Mhm.
can stop me in my tracks, and that's not good
And
for,
that's very common, especially if not only have you invested time, but you've invested money.
yeah, that's right.
And I'm going to add on top of that, and this goes to just our mental well-being, is when you have shared with other people that you are on this path to this thing, and then they're 6 months later they're like,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah.
what happened to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that can that, and so sometimes that will cause us to just quit and just wrap up everything and close. And another thing to remember is oftentimes when we just stop and jump over to this other thing, we were really probably only just seconds away from really achieving what we were going after in
Yeah.
the first place.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of natural because I don't know about you, but when I see a new opportunity that's enticing for me, it actually invigorates me. The idea of embracing that opportunity invigorates me at first, but then, reality sets in
Mhm.
and it becomes frustrating or boring or overwhelming or it's not the right fit or whatever. So, jumping in is natural, but it, it does end up, you do end up paying for it one way or another if you don't f- s- learn to focus on those end goals. So Teresa, any tips on how to overcome this overwhelm associated with chasing the latest, greatest thing?
Well, Rosalind, that's a great question. And, as you know, I'm very big on, planning
Yeah.
and being, specific. Now, does that mean that I am like a super, super organized person? I don't know. But what it does mean is what I always like to share with my clients is that it is very hard to hit a moving target.
Mm,
So even with your best efforts, it's hard to hit something that is moving. So it's I like to plan, have a specific goal. So be very specific about what your goals are, what you are working on. And even if you have multiple goals, then I like to actually take each goal and then write down my process to achieving that particular goal. So that helps to give me just a lot of clarity. And then and that can go to your business and to your life.
mm,
Whatever it is that you're working on, have a be very specific. And I like to identify what my goal is, how I'm going to get there, and then I take it a step further and I like to write down what do I think my roadblocks will be. At least 3 roadblocks I like to write down. So I keep this very simple. What are the 3 roadblocks to me achieving this goal? And then the next thing, I try to name 3 ways that I can overcome each roadblock.
great tips,
So
Teresa.
I've kind of like really outlined it. And then that kind of helps to really keep me on track. And so whenever I'm introduced, I've already decided how I'm going to reach the goal. So whenever I'm, introduced to something that's outside of that particular pathway, then instead of me just jumping onto that thing, then I kind of come back and look at my plan. And then I really just try to evaluate this thing and see, okay, can this fit into this plan that I have? Or do I need to just stay the course? Because whenever you establish a plan, you also want to put in there, I didn't mention, but you also want to put in there, when are you going to reevaluate your plan? So are you going, and I suggest 90 days. I try to stay with something for 90 days. And then at that 90-day mark, unless it's just failing miserably, it's like obviously falling apart, then I try to stay the course for 90 days and then reevaluate where I am. And at that point, I can introduce something that's new. And that applies, like I said, both in life and in business. If you're on your weight loss track, stick with it for that 90 days or that set amount of time. And at the end of that time, then look at something else if it
Yeah.
seems like what you're doing is not working.
Yeah. I think as and part of all of that is to really spend some time. So the new opportunity or the new item comes into focus, really spend some time researching it and read reviews of it, listen to reviews of it. Don't just jump in because the you know the commercial appealed to you or the ad on Facebook appealed to you, look it through thoroughly before you and evaluate. Is it really so? The pros and cons. Like if I
Right.
stay the course by on what's on my plan versus if I choose this. And what are the pros and cons of doing these things? Temptation is blind, and it's so easy to just jump in without thinking. And
Hmm.
that's where you need to kind of train your brain to not um, chase every opportunity that comes your way. Um, you know, it's it's it doesn't mean that you won't eventually choose this new item, but you're making a choice filled with knowledge. And knowledge is power, right? So that way you can fit it in to that planner that Teresa talked about, the goals, the specific goals, the all of that Teresa talked about. You can see how it fits in with that. But you can't see how it fits in with that if you don't spend some time really evaluating whether it is the right choice for you or not. And some of that is you know self-awareness. Be aware if you're the type of person that does jump at the first opportunity, that has super fear of missing out,
Hmm.
do a little bit of self-evaluation and notice your patterns.
Hmm.
So, if you've been in business or if you've been dieting regularly, how many times have you jumped to the next best thing in your mind, over the past year? And has it served you any purpose? Has it helped you meet your goals? It's almost you can you know, you need to take that pause. We've talked about that before, I
Yes,
think, Teresa.
I've stolen that already too from
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
That's
Take that
actually become part of
pause.
my.
Yeah. So take that pause, and that pause gives you an
Yeah.
opportunity to maybe calm that excitement, that calm the excitement of that next best thing, calm it down, bring it down to reality level by taking that pause. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And something I was thinking about, we haven't we've kind of come at this from how, being unfocused and being overwhelmed, and especially, making a choice to just hop around, and we're getting into all these things and they're not serving us well. But what about when there is a bright shiny object, or there are many and they're really all great, and you check into it and it's like, you know what, that actually seems like something that I might want to incorporate in my life, or incorporate into my business. Well, this is how I like to approach that, especially when it comes to business, because most things in business, they do have a price tag attached to them, especially when you are growing and developing your business. So this is how I choose to look at it. Definitely take the time to evaluate it. And then if I've evaluated something and I feel like, you know what, I think that this really, really would be great for my business. Well, then financially,
yeah. It's the
is
next
my
step.
business producing the money that will actually allow me to pay for this service out of my business income, so that it can be a business expense. And the reason why I bring this up is because sometimes, I think, you and I have shared that, or we've shared definitely with one another. I don't know with our podcast listeners, but when we decided to launch our businesses, we were already in successful careers. So we had and in that we had a reserve of money, or access to money, to where we could personally put the money or invest the money into our business. But at this stage, as we have launched our business, and as we are continuing to learn and grow along with all of our listeners, it's important to, if you are running, your business, to look at your business income. So if this bright shiny object is something that is costing, whatever it is. I don't even really care if it's hundreds of dollars, but hundreds to thousands of dollars, but you don't have that income in your business. What I would say to this is, because I hate to feel like I can't have something. So if it's really something that I want, that I think will benefit my business, then how can I work this in as a business expense? And so when I actually take advantage of this, might be, well, it will be when my business income actually will allow for it. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
It does. It does. And it's once you know that it's an opportunity or a tool or whatever that you want to take advantage of, you really, the next step is, can I financially afford this? And
Hmm.
that's true whether you're making a decision about purchasing something, the latest exercise equipment, or whether you're purchasing a new app or
Absolutely.
whatever program that's going to help support your business. And you know what? If financially, realistically, you can't afford it, it's okay to keep it on the back burner for a while, right?
Absolutely.
It's an object you want, so set out that goal to come up with the financial means to have that object or that opportunity. Um,
Absolutely.
it's not going to go away. It's going to
Hmm.
be there when the time is right. You'll know it, and that's when you can it fit it into your goals and your plans. So yeah, it's it's it, just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be purchased at that moment, even if it is the right tool for you, right? So,
Yes, I'm glad that you gave that example, because I purchased some exercise equipment, but when you and I did, I waited. I looked at it, I researched it, I watched videos, I did all this stuff, and knew that, okay, and I looked at how much it cost, and I waited around for like a holiday, or or a time, or at the end of the year, and they're probably going to have a new version of the machine next year, and maybe they discount it. But I mean, I'm just, as you said, that so many things came to my mind, such as, like, in self-care, like, one thing that I want to start doing this year is I want to go to the spa,
yeah.
at least once a month. So, how much does that cost? And can, I fit that into my budget? So that's a personal thing. And then there's another thing, for my business. There's this networking group now that's out there, but the only way to access it is if you have an iPhone. Now, I'm not an iPhone user. I very well understand that iPhones, cost upwards of $1,000 or more. And so, my thought process for, if okay, so maybe this will be something that will be great for me. Now, can my business purchase me an iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
And if it can, and I really think that this is something that's going to benefit me and I will actually use it, then great. So that's the other thing. Are you actually going to use the tool?
Exactly.
Because it
Yeah.
really might sound really great, but are you is your business at the functional state to where it's something that you will even utilize? Or you and I recently experienced a coaching program that was well over $10,000. And so there were people in the coaching program who were just starting out in business, like, didn't even know the name of the business that they wanted to, or what type of business they wanted to have. I don't think that that's the right time. It might be a tremendously great program, but perhaps that's not like the great time for them to invest in something that is so costly. So those are just some examples of, those bright, shiny objects.
Yeah, for sure. And we come across them every day in business. And it's okay, as I said, to put it on the shelf. You never know. By waiting 6 months or a year before you jump in, that product will actually have improved, and it will suit your business better, or it will suit your life better.
Mhm.
There are real positives in just taking your time to be deliberate about making these decisions rather than just jumping in with over, so much excitement. And so it's it's about, yeah, really evaluation of everything
Yeah.
that you're gonna choose, right?
Yes, and Rosalind, you know what? As always, we can talk and talk and talk forever. This has really been great, tremendous information. Another great episode. Thank you so much for being here with me today on this beautiful day. So, what is going to be our takeaway today for our audience?
Well, I think it's just that. Make an informed judgment before you jump in and buy something. Don't be tempted just because it's the latest, greatest thing, the great, shiny object. Do your research. Reflect on whether it's the right fit for you. Um, make sure you know the outcomes of purchasing that latest, greatest thing. Pursuing every bright, shiny object that comes your way can actually cause more damage than good.
Yes,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
remember, you can't hit a moving target.
yeah, yeah. And confusion doesn't bring buyers into your company.
No.
So, so thank you, everyone. This has been a great chat with Teresa about something that both of us have fallen prey to over the last few years, and I hope you found something useful in here. Learned from our experiences and take away some tips that will help you the next time you face that decision, that bright shiny object. Thank you for listening, everyone.